Hello, beautiful beings.
My name is Luna, and this is
Rachel, and we'd like to welcome you to the Conscious Soul Podcast,
The Conscious Soul,
where you can get your dose of laughs, wisdom, healing,
aliens, witchy shit, and all things related to the unfolding of the conscious soul. Hello, lovies. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy that you're here, and welcome to another episode of The Conscious Soul. Once again, I am Luna, and this is
Rachel. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
Welcome to the Conscious
Bringing.
Soul.
Yes, we have a great little conversation ahead of us. But before we begin, I do want
let's tell the people what we're going to talk about. Let's give them a little sneak peek.
Okay, all right. Let them know.
A little sneak.
Let them know.
We're going to discuss learning to feel. Oof. Most of that word, that thing that people shy away from, feeling.
Yeah. Some people be like, what is that? What are those?
Feelings?
What are those? What are those?
So that's what we're going to talk about, learning to feel.
Feelings, yes.
But before we do that, we will.
We would like to share a couple of things.
And you know what's funny? She literally just said to me before this episode, she was like, when are we going to make it funny? And I'm like, we do, just by being ourselves. Okay. So here you go.
Fresh off the block. Okay. So in any case, we are going to share with you something that you can be a part of. And you could either be part of my Patreon or Rachel's Patreon, but we both have one. You can become a member and you can receive discounts, get readings, get personalized meditations, one-on-one coaching, discounts, all kinds of things. Very, very good value for your buck. So if you're interested, you can visit my Instagram, which is at ashe.luna, ase.luna. And Rachel, let them know yours.
My Instagram is Evol Majers, so EVOL_MAJERS. And we both have link trees. So yeah, check us out and message us. We love to hear from you guys.
Yes, I love it. Amazing. Awesome. So I'm excited. Let's get right into it.
Let's dive, baby. Learning to feel.
Learning to feel. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, that's it. Episode over. No, I'm just kidding.
That's it. You already got the gist of it.
So learning to feel, it can be fucking scary, guys. It can be scary. But the beautiful thing is that it reminds you of how human you truly are. And feeling is a very, very, very good thing to do. So let us embrace it and not shy away from it anymore. And so let's go into it. Let's talk about what our process has been.
Yes. So we're gonna go talk about based off of what we've experienced quite recently. Personally, what I have been experiencing with this specific topic, learning to feel. But before that, let me ask you a question. So what do you think, why people don't feel? Why a lot of people do not feel or are away from their feelings or detached from their emotions?
Well, there's many things that go into it, right? So, you know, our childhood, our upbringing, you know, the way that we were met when we did express our feelings as children. You know, everything begins in our childhood and it molds us into the adult children that we are, because we're all still children, right? And so, for example, if I'm 5 years old and I have this experience and maybe I'm experiencing fear or or I'm sad about something, and I'm met with a whole bunch of chaos and a whole bunch of no, don't feel that way, or don't express it that way, or don't communicate that way, then I'm going to internalize that as a child as a negative thing. That, okay, well, I was just being, expressive in my own being, and maybe my mommy met me with, her yelling at me, or maybe my daddy met me with, maybe I got my
hitting
ass
you or
beat,
something.
something, right? And so as children, we internalize these things, we internalize our experiences, and those things lead us into our adult lives. And so we have to learn, another episode we spoke about doing was like learning and unlearning, right? So there's
Mm-hmm.
these things that we have to unlearn. And so we have, and another thing is society paints this picture that we're only supposed to have these feel good feelings,
Mm-hmm.
that you're not supposed to be sad, you're not supposed to miss people,
Mm-hmm.
you're not
Like,
supposed
yeah,
to
and
feel.
also toxic positivity type thing,
Exactly.
type
So
trip.
there's many things that go into it, and you hear people talk all the time about I'm depressed or I'm anxious. What does that truly mean?
Mm-hmm.
Depression is you're continuously living in the past
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over
Yeah.
and over again.
Yeah.
You're anxious because you're constantly thinking about the future, and there's this great big thing of the unknown, and so you become overzealous, over anxious with this unknown. And so being in the present, right? In the present, we can experience our true emotions. In the present, we can experience what we're actually truly feeling. And it doesn't mean that we can't experience some form of anger or some form of uh, 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 being upset. You can experience these things and not act on the emotion in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think it's very important to start with your childhood, because if you're listening to this podcast and you're 55, then you're going to have 55 years of the experiences that you've had, of the ways that you've been thinking and doing. Same thing if you're in your 30s or 40s, whatever. And so you have to really assess where you are and what are the contributing factors. If you're constantly telling yourself that the way that you're feeling is unacceptable, then you're going to shy away from that. You're not even going to address it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're
So
not gonna want to
you're
address
not
it. You're gonna run away from it or turn the
you're
other
going to want to
direction,
take that
avoid it.
pill. You're going to want to take that pill.
Yes.
You're going to want to drink. You're going to want to have sex. You're going to want to, go shopping. You're going to want to do all of these things to fill this void that you think that you have. And the only void that you have is not having a relationship with yourself. You having a relationship with yourself involves you having a relationship with your feelings and your emotions. And remembering that you are the observer of your feelings and your emotions. You're not attached to these things. You're
Mm-hmm.
the observer of these things. And again, it all starts and is based and rooted in your childhood. So for some of us, that's a very scary place to go back to for whatever reason. Maybe there's physical, sexual, emotional trauma,
Mm-hmm.
And so I know it can be a bit scary. However, that's where we need to go. And so let us know that fear and faith cannot occupy the same space. So know that even going back to your childhood, it may be a bit scary for you, but spirit is going to meet you right there
Mm-hmm.
and hold your hand the whole way through. So, you know, I can be a bit long-winded, but there's the Moni.
Moaning.
Moni. There's many and Moni ways, or contributing factors, I should say, to why people shy away from their feelings.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because, you know, talking about people shying away from their feelings, sometimes when people so you're saying people that, live in the past, right? Sometimes people live in the future, and that's what creates anxieties and all kinds of things like that. And they live in the future and they don't want to address the past, not even look at it, not even think about it, because when we think about something, a memory, when we bring up a memory in our mind, our body feels it physically. And
Mm-hmm.
so we experience the pain like we're there that day, and we experience the emotions and everything. And so people are scared to feel that, so they do, that's why they shy away from it, but it's necessary, to first open the door and let it out, air out, And so the only way you do it is by actually opening the door and looking at it,
That part.
and smelling it. But yeah, so people it's just fear, definitely learning to feel. I think society also plays a big part. I agree with that as well. We know that for the most part in the last, 100 years, hundreds of years, the energies have been dominated in the more masculine energies on
Mm-hmm.
earth. And so now that the shift is happening towards a more feminine, the divine feminine, Aquarius energy, and all that age of Aquarius. So now we're gonna see the union of those two,
Mm-hmm.
if we direct it in a manner of which we want to create unity. And and so that imbalance also is one of the reasons why we are detached from our feelings.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Which, just to stay here for a second, this will be a whole nother topic, but it is very important to be able to embrace and embody your divine feminine and masculine because we all have both. And
yes.
whether you identify as a male or female or non-binary, we
Mm-hmm.
all have masculine and feminine energies. And, it's important to be able to integrate both. Um, so just adding that little tidbit.
Yes. 100%. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. Thank you.
There was something else that you said I wanted to comment on and I forgot, but it'll probably come back around.
Yeah. So yeah, just, you know, talking, I'm looking at the notes that I had writing here, but bypassing, people do that, you know, if they're all positivity or
Mm-hmm.
all shadow,
Yeah.
you have, so that's the same thing. It's duality, feminine and masculine,
Mm-hmm.
dark and light, positive, negative, whatever you resonate with, your verbiage, it's just
It's
verbiage, but
just
it's all the
verbiage.
same thing.
Yeah.
And so people want to avoid conflict. They become passive. They don't want to deal with it, so they just throw things away and they don't look at them. They put them in a box in their garage, and it just creates dust and collects dust and animals and all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't look at it, and it's not accessible to you because it's all the way in the back. You don't even know what's in that box anymore. You know what I mean? And so that's why learning to feel is a process, because you have to first even begin to access those areas that are within you,
That part.
that you haven't felt or even knew that you ever felt. Sometimes they're like, for me, for example, a lot of things from my childhood I don't remember. I have very few memories from my childhood. And so that can detach you from your feelings a
Mm-hmm.
lot, because that means I compare, what is it?
Compartment. Compartmentalize.
Compartmentalize. And I stow it away because I don't want to deal with it. Like, I'm like, it's good. Like, I'm good without it. Like, I'm chill, but I don't want to deal with it. But then that creates more junk in my subconscious mind that will create these things to appear in my reality, into physical form, because everything manifests, from what you're feeling, even though
Right.
you're not conscious of what you're feeling. And so when you don't have access to these memories or these thoughts, or why you feel the way that you feel, sometimes you'll have an emotion just come up when you start doing energy work to clear this stuff out. Like when you start doing Reiki, or you get energy healing from someone, a clearing, you'll have just a day where you'll just fucking feel like crying, or you'll just feel depressed or angry or whatever, and you don't know why you're feeling it. You don't even know what emotion it is. Sometimes you just feel like blah, like, crunchy or whatever, extra crispy. And you're like, I don't know what the hell is going on. Like, what the fuck? And it's okay. You just sit with it, and meditate and ask yourself, what am I feeling when you're going deep into meditation. Like, the more that you do meditation, the more longer that you'll be able to do the meditation, and the more you'll be able to access and heal your own self through
That part.
meditation. And so that's why practice is so important. If you're just beginning, the benefits of doing it for, you know a long period of time, and doing it consistently, being dedicated to it and honoring yourself, it comes with a lot of benefits, because you can really heal a lot of emotional trauma, and also the physical body temple you can heal through
Absolutely.
meditation, which is amazing. And so, yeah, and even if you're just beginning, you can still ask yourself these questions and just sit there for a moment and trust that the answer will come. If it doesn't come to you right then and there, it'll come to you in another way, but the
Mm-hmm.
answer will come, for sure, for a fact. You don't have to be experienced for you to get answers, because you always have access to your guides and your angels and your higher self, and whoever you resonate with,
Mm-hmm.
because you are God. You're part of God. You're God, and you're part of God. You're both.
Mm-hmm.
So you're everything, and it's beautiful.
Ashe.
But learning to feel, yeah, I just sometimes I can't, like, identify what the emotion is, and I have to learn not to beat myself up, but like, how do you not know, like, you should be aware, like, or thinking that people are judging me around, and
Mm-hmm.
just, like, I don't want to openly feel sometimes, in front of somebody, a stranger or something, because there's a guard up. I know that there is sometimes, because I don't want to be judged.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because I have always had confidence issues, so I judge myself always very harshly. Especially being a creative person, being an artist,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like artists judge, like, their art
Of
so
course.
so heavily, because they're very heavily in their right brain, in their feminine,
Mm-hmm.
because they're very openly creative, the creative people. Feminine is creativity, creative nature. And so that can create an imbalance. So, yeah, it's very important to work on those type of things, solar plexus and heart chakra.
Mm-hmm. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah,
for
thank
sharing
you,
that.
thank you. I'm learning as I'm talking. I'm learning, I'm teaching myself,
Mm-hmm. That's the best part. We are our own teachers.
That's
And
right.
it's important to remember that we are, always students and teachers of life. The student becomes the
That
teacher,
part.
and the teacher becomes a student. It's evolutionary, and it's a beautiful process. And I do remember what I wanted to. You were speaking earlier about, um, you had said something about, like, being open and, like, opening up, and then you had just mentioned it again, and that's it. That's the part, is remaining open,
Mm-hmm.
is not closing up when you experience a traumatic event, because then there's this illusion of separation, there's this illusion of control, and then it the things that we think we're doing to protect ourselves are actually hindering us, and keeping us in a state of separation, and in a state of feeling the need to constantly protect ourselves. There's nothing that you need to protect yourself from, ever.
Yeah.
And I know that also might be a hard pill to swallow,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially based off of someone's experiences. However, your life is not just the sum and the culmination of your experiences. It's far beyond that. And so, you know, these things that I say now, these things that I now know, I didn't understand, for a long time. And I did so many things to not feel, so many things to numb myself, to change the subject, to not address a certain thing. Um, and I remember reading the only way to remain open is to not close. And that hit me, it stuck with me,
Yeah.
and Here I am. I've experienced, loss. I remember before my father passed away, I remember thinking like, how am I ever gonna like be okay, without my father? Even though we had such a fucking tumultuous relationship, he was still here, and then you just experience certain things in life, and you realize that even in the most craziest of times, like look at what we're experiencing now as a collective, you know it is there are a lot of things happening, and we're not ignorant to these things. We're aware of these things. However, vibrationally, when you raise your vibration, and you when you know in your heart and soul that all things are truly aligning, even when they don't make sense, that's the part of learning to feel the things that you can't quote unquote control, and remaining open to that stranger that you talked about, remaining open to even your friends or your family, because who hurts us the most? Typically our friends and our family. And so, remaining open, and a part of that is our vulnerability, our courage, our bravery. People ask me, or they'll mention to me about me being open, and it's the only way I can be, because I know what it's like to be closed off. I know
Mm-hmm.
what it's like to shut myself off from myself, and that's when I suffered.
Yeah.
And so it's just, how do you learn the things that you don't want? By experiencing them and saying, okay, I don't want this,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, guys, it's hard. Feeling can be, it leaves you, again, it leaves you in a state of vulnerability. Um, but again, it's important to remember that if you're open and available, and someone treats you in a manner that you don't want, or that you're not receiving, or that's not of your boundary, then that's okay. Don't change your openness because someone doesn't know how to receive you, or someone doesn't know how to reciprocate, because the right people will. And for those people who don't at this season in their life, this is where they are, and we can't take other people's lessons away, just like other people can't take our lessons away.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for attending my Rachel talk.
Yes, I love your Rachel talk. Rachel talk. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I want to touch base on something you said. You said about protection, right? That you're trying to protect yourself by putting that wall up, right? And so the things that we build as or we create as protection mechanisms, a lot of the things I was listening to a podcast, it's called Spiritual Shit, and the girl was explaining about these protection mechanisms, how we create them as from when we're a child, when we're in our children, in our children, in our childhood. In our childhood, we create these protection mechanisms because we needed them, you know, at the moment in time to protect us from getting hit or from getting yelled at or from whatever. And so when we were kids, yeah, it made sense, but now as adults it doesn't serve us, because we now are ready to be in control, or not in control,
Not in
not in
control.
control, but we are ready to address
We are
and
now ready
feel.
to
Now
be open.
we are now open to be able to be conscious enough, be able to translate the information that we're receiving, because as
Mm-hmm.
kids you don't have much to go off of.
Yeah, you don't have. There's no
You don't
reference
have
point or
no knowledge.
verbiage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's things change, and so every life is always changing consistently. That's the only thing that is constant.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be able to go with the changes, go with the flow.
That ebb and flow, huh?
Yeah, just go with it. Just be able to mold and shift yourself like water. You feel me?
Yeah.
Be flexible, okay?
Okay.
So, yeah, so now that goes now back to the childhood work that you have to do, reparenting yourself or going back to your thinking, going into meditation, just looking at yourself, picturing yourself as a little girl, whatever age comes up to mind, and that's the one that you need to talk to, and tell her what you need to hear at that time, what you need to hear at that time. And you reparenting yourself creates this change in your mind, and you can then begin the healing process. And that's the whole point of the show, is learning to feel. And what is the importance of feeling? The importance of feeling is to be able to heal these traumas, these scars, these things that are holding us back because we haven't addressed, or we haven't looked at them, or we haven't accepted them as part of us, as part of our learning process here.
That's beautiful. It's funny that um the previous episode we spoke about releasing, and you spoke about taking accountability for realizing that, like, damn, you look in the mirror and you realize, like, oh shit, like I'm the one that's been like shaming myself and blaming myself and judging myself and all these things, right? And we experience that when it comes to feeling too. Like we have to take the same accountability, like, damn, like, this guy hurt me years ago, or this person hurt me years ago, and now every time I go on a date, I'm thinking this is going to happen. Or I have a new friend, but my experience is that I don't keep friendships, and so X, Y, and Z. And so it's it's interesting that the things that we speak about, how everything is truly tied together. And it kind of reminds me of like our chakras, how people say, like, if one is off, all of them are off. And if one is out of alignment, all
because
of
it
them
can't
are.
flow, like the
Yeah,
energy can't
because
flow, right?
and that's why I corrected you when you said about controlling our feelings, because we don't want to control our feelings. We want to allow ourselves to feel these feelings. We want to be in the ebb and flow of our life, and the ebb and flow of our feelings, the ebb and flow of our emotions, the ebb and flow of our thoughts. We want to allow these things and recognize that we are the observer, because the moment that we can try to control shit, now we're in a different position, because now we feel like we're operating from a sense of lack, or again, that we need to protect something. But I'm just really
less control is more control.
Absolutely.
That's what I
There's a
always say.
book that I want to read. It's called The Art of Surrender. And
Who is it by?
I don't know.
Okay, The Art of Surrender.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I believe, well, there's The Art of Communication, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong that there's a book called The Art of Surrender, or maybe someone said to me, like, The Art of Surrendering. But I if my memory serves me, I believe it's a book. But I just love that verbiage, like the art of surrendering, because it is an art form, like the art of communication, like, surrendering to the outcome, surrendering to,
the
having
flow.
Yeah. So
that's beautiful.
And I just am really enjoying these conversations. And I think it was either this episode or the last one that you said, that as we have these conversations, like, you're learning, and same here. Yeah. So thanks for being my sounding board, kid. You are right.
For sure. Yeah, I love the Rachie talk. Awesome. But yeah, what you were talking about, that basically is PTSD. Emotional PTSD.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all, that's what PTSD is. But it's just comes from a different trauma. So yeah, it's just things that we work on and learning, and in all reality, no one ever taught anybody how to feel, what the emotions mean. Like, nobody gave us a blueprint on what this human body does. We had to figure it out on our own. And so everybody is technically just learning, so we're all learning how to feel. All of us, even the people that do feel, who haven't had an issue with feeling, like myself, they're still learning as well, because their different feelings will arise.
Absolutely. That's a great point. It made me think about one of our clients who has shared that for a long time, like, she was diagnosed with, I think, like, bipolar and dissociative disorder, and has always been like a very empathic person, and felt very deeply and experienced things very deeply and was very emotional,
Mm-hmm.
and for all of her life thought that like she was like basically cursed, and like that this was not a good thing. And
Mm-hmm.
now she's in a position where she recognizes how different she has been from her friends and her family and like her environment, and
Yes.
now she's embracing it and not looking at it as a
Mm-hmm.
curse, looking at it as a blessing, and that she feels very deeply and that she's
Right.
connected. And
Yes.
that's a prime
Mm-hmm.
example. When you're a child, if you are
Perspective.
perspective, if you're expressing yourself, and your parent or your sister or your friend or a guardian is saying, however you're expressing yourself, that's the thing, is we need freedom of expression. We need to be able, if we want to scream, we need to be able to scream. If we want to go for a 10-mile run because that's what gets us to be able to release things and feel things, then that's what we need to do. We need to be able to really create a space for ourselves and for others to be vulnerable and have this freedom of expression,
Mm-hmm.
because we are infinite beings, we're luminous infinite beings, and there's not one way, there's infinite possibilities, there's infinite ways to be able to express ourselves. And so long as one person is not harming another, we need to be able to hold that space
Mm-hmm.
for an individual to express themselves how they deem fit, because it's going to look different for everyone. And so again, let us remain open and available to these things and these processes within ourselves and with others, because the less we judge ourselves, the less we judge others.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
This was a great one.
I'm so happy that I'm so happy with what you touched base on. You said everything I was thinking,
Good.
and I think we
Good.
really tackled this well.
Yes.
I hope that you guys learned something from it, and this helps you in your spiritual journey and process in some way, shape, or form. We love you so much.
We love you so much. And just remember, wherever you are is exactly
Yes.
where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Be
we
gentle
be
on yourself.
gentle, and we all have to start somewhere. So start with
Yep.
where you are and what you have and what you know. And that's all you need. We love you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day or evening. Ciao, ciao for now.
Ciao.